You've spent decades learning how to keep the peace, how to avoid conflict, keep everyone comfortable, and not make a scene. But now, in your 60s or 70s, something feels different. You're tired. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You're tired of bending yourself to fit into family dynamics that leave you feeling drained, dismissed, or used. And at the heart of that exhaustion, one harsh truth: some people in your family are manipulating you. It doesn't always look loud or cruel. Sometimes it's wrapped in guilt. You're the only one I can count on, or laced with obligation, but we're family. You have to help. Or masked as concern. We're just worried about you. That's why we're stepping in. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not powerless. After 60, you've earned the right to protect your peace. You've earned the right to question patterns that never felt quite right, but you were too loyal or too afraid to challenge. In this video, we'll talk about how to spot emotional manipulation, the tactics toxic relatives often use, and what real, healthy boundaries look like in later life. Because your time, your energy, and your peace matter now more than ever. And no one has the right to use guilt, shame, or pressure to take that away from you. Manipulation Tactic 1. Guilt tripping in disguise. Guilt is a manipulator's favorite weapon, especially in families where love has been confused with obligation. This tactic doesn't always scream abuse. It whispers, it sighs. It lays heavy in a single sentence that makes you question your worth if you dare to put your needs first. It sounds like, "I'll be fine, I guess," even if no one cares anymore. "I didn't want to bother you. I know you have your life now." Your father would be disappointed if he saw how distant you've become. Guilt tripping is particularly effective with people over 60 because it targets one of the most powerful emotional instincts in older adults, the desire to stay connected, to be seen as kind, loyal, generous, dependable. You've probably spent most of your life being the one who shows up, the one who gives, the one who sacrifices. So when someone you love implies, even subtly, that you're being selfish, it cuts deep. But here's what guilt tripping really is: emotional control dressed up as vulnerability. It flips the script. Suddenly the person making demands appears to be the victim. And you become the cold one, the selfish one, the one who's changed. It's manipulative because it distorts reality. You're not being asked for support. You're being pushed into it using shame. If you leave conversations feeling drained, defensive, or quietly resentful, that's your signal. What you can do: recognize the setup. Guilt manipulation often starts with subtle phrasing. The speaker sounds disappointed but noble, as if they're not asking for much. But the emotional weight they drop on you is anything but light. Name the pattern to yourself first. Before confronting anyone, be honest with yourself. This doesn't feel like a real request, it feels like pressure. That clarity will anchor you. Respond without justifying. You don't owe a 10-minute explanation for every no. Try, "I care deeply, but I can't take that on right now." Or, "I love you, but I need to honor my limits." Expect pushback, and hold-steady manipulators are used to getting their way. When you stop complying, they may escalate guilt tactics. Stay calm, stay kind, stay firm, reflect on the long game. Giving in to guilt feels like peace in the short term, but it builds resentment and self-betrayal over time. That's not love, it's emotional debt. A truth worth holding on to: you are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not heartless for saying no. You are not ungrateful for protecting your time, your peace, and your health. The people who truly love you won't want to see you exhausted, resentful, or depleted. They'll respect your boundaries, even if it takes time. Because love without guilt is possible. And you deserve nothing less. Manipulation Tactic 2. Playing the eternal victim. One of the most emotionally draining manipulation tactics, especially for people over 60, is when a relative constantly casts themselves as the victim. No matter the situation, they find a way to position themselves as the one who's always been wronged, left out, or mistreated. And no matter how much you try to support them, it's never enough. You may hear things like, "You always forget about me. I guess I don't matter anymore now that you have your own family. Nobody ever asks me how I'm doing. You wouldn't treat your other relatives this way. At first, these statements may sound like genuine sadness, but over time a pattern reveals itself. They're not asking for help, they're demanding loyalty through guilt. They twist emotional narratives to keep you tethered, using your empathy as a leash. And when you try to set boundaries or express your needs, they flip the script. You're accused of being cold, distant, or selfish. You might even start questioning yourself. Am I being uncaring? Am I abandoning them? This tactic works especially well on kind, conscientious people, especially older adults, who were raised to keep the family together and to always put others first. But here's the truth. Constant victimhood is not a cry for help. It's a form of control. Why it's so toxic? After 60. After a lifetime of giving, raising children, supporting relatives, putting everyone else ahead of yourself, you deserve peace. You deserve relationships based on mutual respect, not manipulation. But when someone in your life refuses to grow, refuses to take accountability, and constantly repositions themselves as helpless, they drain the joy and stability you've worked so hard to create. Manipulative victims don't just want support, they want power. And they gain that power by keeping you emotionally off balance. How to recognize it? They reject every solution. No matter what advice or help you offer, it's not what they need. That's because they don't actually want resolution. They want sympathy without accountability. They make your boundaries feel like betrayal. When you say, "I can't talk right now," or "I am not able to come," it's met with dramatic disappointment, silence, or passive-aggressive guilt. They weaponize the past. Every old argument, every mistake, every time you weren't available becomes evidence of how neglected they've been, often exaggerated or taken out of context. They drain rather than restore. Healthy relationships, even during hard times, leave room for both people to be seen and supported. Victim-based manipulation leaves only one person emotionally fed: them. How to respond? Without losing yourself. Acknowledge the emotion without absorbing it. Say, "I can tell you're upset," but don't immediately jump into rescue mode. Let their feelings be theirs. State your boundaries with clarity and care. "I care about you, but I need to take care of myself too. I'll check in tomorrow, but I can't talk tonight." Refuse to engage in guilt cycles. Don't argue, defend, or over-explain. A manipulative person thrives on pulling you into emotional circles. Redirect the dynamic. Instead of feeding the narrative of helplessness, invite growth. Have you thought about joining a support group? Or, what's one small thing you could do for yourself today? A gentle reminder: compassion does not require emotional self-abandonment. You can love someone and still say no. You can listen with empathy and still walk away when the conversation turns toxic. You are not their emotional caretaker. You are not responsible for their growth. You are allowed to stop dancing around someone's dysfunction just to keep the peace. At this stage of life, your peace is sacred. Protect it with the same devotion you once gave to everyone else. Manipulation Tactic 3. Withholding affection or approval as a weapon. This is one of the most subtle and painful forms of manipulation, especially for those over 60 who deeply value connection and emotional closeness with family. It's when someone, often an adult child or close relative, deliberately withdraws affection, approval, or communication as a way to control you. They may not yell guilt or accuse you outright. Instead, they go silent. They stop calling, they delay visits. They become cold or distant, and when asked why, their answer is vague or evasive. "I've just been busy." "I needed space." "I don't know, it just feels like you've changed." But underneath that silence is a message. "You didn't do what I wanted, so I'm punishing you by withholding love." This is not just passive aggression, this is emotional blackmail. For elders, especially those who have given their lives to raising children, this kind of rejection cuts deep. You may find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, bending over backwards to make it right, or changing your behavior just to be accepted again. That's how effective this tactic is. It creates a desperation for reconnection, one that manipulative people use to maintain power. It often sounds like, "I just don't feel close to you anymore." Maybe if you were more understanding, I'd want to come around more. I didn't tell you about the family event because I wasn't sure you'd handle it well. This tactic thrives in silence, not just theirs, but yours. Because many older adults don't want to cause conflict, they stay quiet. They tolerate the emotional distance. They internalize it as failure. And over time, they begin to walk on eggshells just to avoid losing more connection. How to reclaim your power. Recognize the pattern for what it is. This is not just them being moody. It's strategic silence. It's love turned into leverage. Refuse to chase approval. You are not a child seeking permission. You are a full human being. If someone only shows warmth when you comply, it's not love. It's control. Name the behavior calmly. Say, I've noticed you've pulled away when I said no. That concerns me. I'd like to talk about it honestly. Do not overcompensate. You don't need to apologize for setting boundaries or for making choices that honor your well-being. Rebuild your emotional circle. Surround yourself with people who value you without conditions, friends, neighbors, community. Sometimes family isn't the safest place to land emotionally, and that's okay. After 60, your time is too precious to spend begging for love. Real connection isn't transactional. It doesn't require you to perform or please. You are allowed to expect mutual effort. You are allowed to stop proving your worth. You are allowed to say, I deserve to be loved without manipulation. Withholding affection is not maturity. It's emotional immaturity in disguise. And you've grown far too wise to fall for it. Manipulation tactic 4. Using help as a control strategy. At first glance, it seems like kindness. A family member steps in, offers to help with groceries, drives you to the doctor, picks up your prescriptions. They insist, let me do that for you, and you accept, grateful for the support. But over time, the help starts to come with invisible strings. They begin making decisions without asking. They override your preferences. They speak for you in front of others. They imply, subtly or directly, that you couldn't manage without them. And when you object or express a different need, they act hurt, offended, or accuse you of being ungrateful. This is manipulation disguised as care. For older adults, especially those over 60, this tactic can be particularly disorienting, because it often comes from people you love and trust, children, siblings, even close friends. It's easy to mistake control for concern, but real care supports your independence. Manipulative help takes it away. This tactic sounds like, I already took care of that, no need to worry. You don't need to deal with that paperwork. I'll just sign it for you. You're lucky I'm here. Most people your age are in nursing homes. The message is clear. You owe me. And the underlying motive? Power. By positioning themselves as indispensable, manipulators make you feel dependent. And dependency makes it harder to say no, harder to ask questions, harder to set boundaries. Here is how to spot and stop this manipulation. Pay attention to patterns. If help is always accompanied by guilt, control, or resentment, it's not help, it's leverage. Insist on mutual respect. Say, I appreciate your support, but I still want to be involved in decisions that affect me. Reclaim small choices, even if it's just what to eat for dinner or which shirt to wear. Choosing for yourself rebuilds agency. Watch for all or nothing language. If someone says, then do it all yourself, when you push back, that's a red flag. Real caregivers don't withdraw support when they lose control. Speak your truth. I'm grateful you care, but I need to feel respected, not managed. The damage this causes isn't always visible. It accumulates slowly, undermining your confidence and sense of independence. One day you might wake up and realize you're no longer making your own doctor appointments. You're no longer deciding how your money is spent. You're deferring to someone else on everything, big or small, not because you want to, but because you're used to being overruled. That's the ultimate danger. When control starts to feel normal, some older adults even stop expressing their opinions altogether. They worry, if I speak up, they might stop helping me. But this silence is not peace, it's pressure. And pressure over time turns into quiet resentment. You don't want that. They don't want that either, even if they don't realize it yet. So what can you do to protect your dignity? Create clear agreements. If someone is helping you with bills, errands, or transportation, agree in advance on what level of involvement they'll have. and what decisions are still yours alone. Write it down if needed. Ask for collaboration, not control. Say, "Can we do this together?" instead of, "Can you just take over?" Set emotional boundaries too. If someone gets angry every time you assert a preference, take a step back. That's not about you. That's about their discomfort with your autonomy. And remember this: needing help does not mean surrendering your rights. You are not less capable. You are simply in a new season of life where partnership matters more than ever. But partnership means balance, not dominance. You can say, "I value your support, but please respect that I'm still capable of making my own choices." There's strength in that sentence, and power in reclaiming what's yours. Your time, your choices, your boundaries, they still belong to you. Manipulation tactic 5. Triangulation, turning people against each other. This tactic is one of the most destructive forms of emotional manipulation, especially within families. It's when a person intentionally pits people against each other to gain power, control narratives, or avoid accountability. And for elders, it can cause deep fractures in family dynamics, often leaving them isolated, confused, or used as pawns. Here's how it works. Let's say you have 2 adult children, Anna and David. Instead of addressing an issue directly with David, Anna comes to you and says, "David's been saying awful things about you. I thought you should know." Whether it's true or exaggerated, the effect is the same. You now feel hurt, betrayed, and maybe even angry toward David. Next, David hears from someone else that you're upset with him. He never said what Anna claimed. Now he's frustrated and confused. Trust between you begins to crumble. Meanwhile, Anna positions herself as the trusted confidant, the only one being honest. That is triangulation, pulling a third party, you, into a conflict instead of dealing with it directly. This tactic thrives on indirectness and secrecy. It's gossip disguised as concern. It creates division where there was once unity. And for seniors, especially those who value family harmony, it can lead to years of estrangement or pain. What makes this especially manipulative is how it often hides under the guise of just trying to help or being honest. But real honesty is spoken directly. Manipulative honesty is whispered to the wrong person, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. Triangulation sounds like, "Don't tell her I told you, but she thinks you're being selfish. I think you should know what your son really thinks about you. He doesn't respect you like I do. That's why I'm here for you." It often begins subtly, but it spreads like poison. So how can you protect yourself? Refuse to be the middleman. Ask, "Have you spoken to them directly?" If not, end the conversation there. Do not take sides based on hearsay. Go to the source. Say, "I need to hear from both of you directly." Watch for patterns. If someone is constantly involved in disputes, always bringing gossip, they might be the manipulator. Speak directly. When in doubt, talk to the person involved, not the messenger. Protect your peace. Say, "I love you both, but I won't get in the middle." Remember, manipulation thrives in the shadows, but you have a powerful tool: clarity. Say, "I care about this relationship too much to let someone else's words come between us. Let's talk directly." You deserve peace more than drama, connection more than confusion, love without strings, and truth without triangles. Manipulation tactic 6. Withholding affection or approval to control behavior. For many older adults, the need for emotional connection with children, grandchildren, and loved ones becomes even more vital with age. But sadly, some manipulators use that need against them. They withhold love, attention, or approval as a form of punishment when their expectations aren't met, turning warmth into a weapon. You might hear phrases like, "Well, I guess I won't bring the grandkids around if you feel that way. I'm just too busy to call right now. Maybe when things are better between us." "You're making things difficult again. I can't be around that energy." What's happening here is emotional blackmail. It's subtle, often nonverbal, and always painful. The manipulator creates an emotional void, then offers to fill it, but only if you comply with their demands. It becomes a transaction, affection in exchange for obedience. Older adults who deeply value family ties may tolerate disrespect or sacrifice their needs just to keep the peace. But peace that's purchased through self-silencing is not peace at all. It's quiet suffering. This tactic is especially cruel because it targets our deepest human needs: to be seen, loved, and included. When those are dangled like carrots on a string, it fosters self-doubt, fear of abandonment, and emotional dependency. So how do you recognize and resist this tactic? Watch for patterns of withdrawal. If someone only gives you time, affection, or praise when you act how they want, you're being manipulated. Name the behavior. Say, "It feels like when I disagree, you pull away. I'd like to talk openly without fearing that." Set clear emotional boundaries. Say, "I'm here to connect, not to be controlled." Avoid chasing approval. When someone dangles affection, don't fix it to win them back. Your worth isn't tied to their moods. Seek support outside the manipulation. Speak to a counselor or support group. Emotional blackmail is isolating, but it's not your fault. And above all, love is not a reward. Affection should never be a bargaining chip. The people who truly love you don't weaponize closeness or punish you with silence. They show up. They listen. They talk through differences. Real love does not punish. It invites, includes, and adapts. And when someone tries to make you earn their love through compliance, remember, you are not the problem. Their emotional immaturity is. At this stage of life, your value isn't negotiable. Let go of emotional blackmail. Choose truth over approval. And remind yourself daily, you are worthy of unconditional love. No performance required. Manipulation tactic: shaming disguised as concern. One of the most common and confusing forms of manipulation is when shame is delivered with a smile. The manipulator cloaks criticism in the language of care, turning what seems like a loving gesture into a subtle attack on your self-worth. It is especially harmful to older adults who are navigating physical, emotional, or lifestyle transitions in later life. Picture this. You mention you're thinking of traveling solo or joining a dance class or even trying online dating. Then comes the concerned tone. "Are you sure that's safe at your age?" Or, "Don't you think that's a bit much?" Or worse, a quiet sigh followed by, "You're not what you used to be, Mum." The words aren't shouted. They're not overtly cruel, but they cut just as deep. This tactic is powerful because it plays on your insecurities while pretending to protect you. The manipulator positions themselves as just looking out for you while planting seeds of doubt, fear, or guilt. And because it sounds like love, many people internalize the shame instead of rejecting the judgment. It's especially common from adult children, extended relatives, or even close friends who are uncomfortable seeing you assert independence, take risks, or express desires that challenge their view of what aging should look like. How this works: it reframes your confidence as recklessness. It labels your joy as naivety. It recasts your boundaries as selfishness. You begin to second-guess yourself, shrink your world, mistake judgment for protection. Examples: "You're too old to be thinking about moving. Isn't that hobby childish for your age?" If you keep saying no like that, don't be surprised if people stop calling. This isn't care. It's control wrapped in guilt. How to respond: recognize the disguise. Ask, "Would this sting if said by a stranger?" If yes, it's manipulation, not love. Name your truth. Say, "I know you care, but that feels judgmental, not supportive." Hold your ground. Say, "This brings me joy." That's enough reason. Limit what you share. You don't owe your dreams to those who shrink them. Affirm your right to evolve. You are still growing, still becoming, always. Remember, real love doesn't shame. Real concern doesn't control. Real family doesn't box you in. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are just getting started. By the time we reach our 60s and beyond, we've weathered life's many seasons. Some joyful, some painful, all shaping the people we've become. Yet too often, this chapter of life, meant to be one of peace, wisdom, and self-discovery, is disrupted by subtle emotional manipulation. It doesn't always look like abuse. It often comes dressed in concern, tradition, family duty, or just trying to help. But at its core, manipulation is about control. And control robs you of what you've spent a lifetime earning, your independence. Across the 7 manipulation tactics we've explored, from guilt tripping to silent treatment, from overstepping boundaries to disguised shaming, there is a common thread: someone trying to make you smaller so they can feel more powerful. That has never been love, and it never will be. It is time to redefine what this season of life looks like, not as a slow fade into silence, but as a bold step into self-respect. You are not here to serve everyone else's comfort. You are not obligated to play the peacekeeper at the cost of your own wellness. You are allowed to change, to set limits, to say no without guilt and yes to things that light you up. The truth is, you don't need permission to take your life back. You only need clarity and the courage to act on it. Speak openly, set firm boundaries, walk away from dynamics that drain you, and surround yourself with people who uplift your growth instead of resisting it. This isn't about rebellion. It's about realignment with your values, your needs, your truth. And the sooner you claim it, the sooner peace returns. Not the fragile peace of avoidance, but the sturdy peace of self-respect. Because you are not weak for wanting space. You are not ungrateful for wanting respect. You are not selfish for reclaiming joy. You are wise. You are seasoned. And you are finally free to live life fully on your own terms. You've spent decades carrying others. Now is the time to carry yourself, with honor, with clarity, and with love. Let this chapter be the one where you stop shrinking and start standing. Let it be the chapter where your truth finally takes center stage. You've earned that.